Hello everyone, this is B. Angelin, studying first BS Psychology, St. Joseph College for Women, along with my co-author, Dr. P. Mary Anupama, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry, St. Joseph College for Women, Visakhapatnam. And the topic of our paper for GWEST 2020 is Challenges in the Fields of Medicine and Diagnostics During Post-COVID Era. The contents are as follows. Introduction, methods of diagnosis, vaccine development, technological challenges, and conclusion. On December 9, 2019, a novel strain of coronavirus, which was identified in the Wuhan city of China, which has caused pneumonia of unknown etiology. By 7th of January 2020, the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention has identified the virus, which was named as 2019 nCoV by World Health Organization. The common symptoms reported by US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention include fever, cough, fatigue, shortness of breath, and loss of smell and taste. WHO and CDC of Europe have released many articles educating people about the spread of disease and prevention measures to be taken. Here is a graphical representation of the general symptoms for coronavirus and the percentage of people exhibiting them. Highest being fever at almost 90%, dry cough at around 65%, and then followed by dyspnea, diarrhea, sore throat, and ventilator use. Among these symptoms, you can identify with the first two symptoms, which is fever and dry cough, if you have contacted coronavirus or not. Incubation period for the disease is 14 days. Complications associated with the disease include pneumonia to acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is ARDS. It can lead to neurological issues, loss of motor functions, and even pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome in children at age from 9 to 11. The novel coronavirus, which is the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, SARS-CoV-2, is related to SARS-CoV and was reported to exhibit 96% identity with that coronavirus. The virus specifically attacks host type 2 alveolar cells of the lungs via angiogenesis converting enzyme 2, to which it binds through its pipe. The virus structure, its genome organization, replication, and pathogenesis have been extensively studied. People affected with the virus were found to have symptoms of systemic hyperinflammation. They had elevated levels of interleukins, GM-CSF, interferon gamma, monocyte and macrophage chemotactic factor, along with tumor necrosis factor alpha. Classic serum makers identified were increased C-reactive protein, elevation in lactase dehydrogenase enzyme, and also ferritin.
With that introduction, now let us study the methods of diagnosing the coronavirus. We have two methods. The first is to detect the presence of virus. When the person is infected, the virus enters the body and they'll be detecting just the virus presence. But there is also another method wherein they'll be detecting the presence of antibodies, and these antibodies you will find when the person has got infected some few days back. Say for example some 7 days back, and that person will develop antibodies. So both of them can be detected, that is the virus as well as the antibodies. Let us see some most commonly used methods. The first one is the RT-PCR method or the reverse transcriptase PCR method. In this method, since this virus is an RNA virus, we try to detect the presence of this viral RNA. They take the nasopharyngeal swab or the oral swab, and that is used as the sample, and this swab, it is digested, the cells are lysed so that RNA is released, and this RNA is subjected to reverse transcriptase PCR, and here you will be getting the results at the end of few hours, or it may take around 2 to 3 days to obtain the results. The second method is isothermal amplification assay. This also uses PCR and it amplifies the viral genome. But the thing is, you'll be getting the results at a faster pace. Here, they'll be using fluorescent tags which enable easy detection of the virus. That is, initially, if the virus is present, then after adding these fluorescent tags, in the vial itself, you are getting the result. Here you can see the fluorescence. So this is the advantage with this particular virus. So if you look at the protocol, they have taken the sample, the nasal swab or the nasopharyngeal swab or the oral swab. Then they have made an RNA extract of it, and then they have added this primers. Then they have conducted this RT-PCR after mixing it, then added this fluorescent tags. So within 35 minutes of addition, they have got these results. The third method is antibody detection method, in which antibodies produced after viral infection are detected. So when a person gets infected with a virus, it takes around 28 days to reach the peak. And here they use this ELISA method. So here you can see that if the antibodies are produced, then they'll be adding anti-antibodies against that particular virus, and binding of those anti-antibodies will enable detection. So this is a simple ELISA method which they can use. Now let us discuss about the hiccups in testing coronavirus. At the time of lockdown, we didn't have any testing kits, and by April 8th, 2020, the Financial Express report, it says that just 1 lakh people, around 1 lakh people were tested for corona. But by May, second week, the ICMR has announced that the scale of this testing, it has increased to 1 lakh detection. 1 lakh people can be detected per day. And let us talk about vaccine development. Yes, the entire world is running after the development of this vaccine, and people are working on coming up with some potential vaccines. So there are potential vaccine developers also. There are around 15 potential developers, and they are trying to work on modifying the virus. They are trying to come up with messenger RNA based vaccines, DNA based vaccines, and so on and so forth. Most of these, they are in the clinical stages. And here you have the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovations, CEPI. It has announced a funding program for vaccine development. And we have the University of Queensland, who has started working with the recombinant DNA based vaccine development, and they have come up with strategies, and they are doing these clinical trials as on June 2020. And we have this MERS-CoV, and the vaccine development is taking place. It is under preclinical trials. If at all this vaccine has come up, and even if SARS vaccine has come up, they also can be used, because these exhibit cross-reactivity with this COVID virus. We have several people claiming that they are going for vaccine development and they are going to release it very soon. Germany, you can see that it's spending around 750 million on coronavirus vaccine development. And UK and Germany, they are competing with each other. And Indian pharmaceutical companies, they're also trying to play a very big role, and things are coming up in clinical trial. But Israel, it is going for development of antibodies. From the plasma of the infected people, they are coming up with development of antibodies as an immediate therapy against coronavirus. Now let us talk about technological challenges. During this COVID era, lots of challenges are being faced by the fields of medicine and diagnostics. We are saying that the technology has advanced, but the major leap has come during the past 2 to 3 months of lockdown. Everything has drastically increased. There is an increase in the production of medical equipment, increase in purchase and manufacture, and the most important thing is in-house development of these goods has increased. According to the reports of the Center for Disease Diagnostics and Economic Policy reports, as on April 21, 2020, for a highly populated country like India, it can be very difficult to meet the needs if we don't upgrade ourselves. According to their reports, they are saying these statistics, for a population of a country having 135 crores of people, we have just 19 lakh hospitals, and these hospitals, they just have 9,50,000 beds, and which in turn have just 48,000 ventilators. So this means that 1 in 100 can be admitted to the hospitals, while 0.0035 individuals out of 100 can be put on ventilators. These are the reports of Andhra Pradesh, where we have 928 good hospitals which can accommodate around 83,000 people in their beds, and we just have 4,000 odd ICUs and around just 2,000 ventilators. So it is very less when compared to our population. What is the need of the day? Here, the government has to remember that they have to increase the number of hospitals with ICU facilities. And the challenge here is to expand these facilities, which indicates that a lot of funding has to go into establishment of hospitals as well as ICU facilities. Apart from that, increased funding is also required for research, for instrumentation, and even for vaccine development. Let us see the positive part. One best outcome we have seen in India. So you see that the AIIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, they have come up with a mini ventilator, which is AGVA. And that is being manufactured now with the collaboration of Bharat Electronics Limited in a huge scale. This is a in-house ventilator, very small ventilator where everyone can use it. And apart from that, according to the latest reports, the AP government, it has already started manufacturing detection kits, the RT-PCR based kits, and they are in the way of making these indigenous ventilators also, and they would scale it up to around 5,000 unit production per month, which is a big leap. And to meet these needs of the society, a wide variety of adjoining fields, they also need to get trained. You have lots of skill development need in the country, and in the next figure I'll be showing you all that. And WHO says, in a country like India, if you want to achieve that need, the target would be just 2030. These are the allied fields which I'm talking about. Mainly, you have lots of research into biomedical instrumentation. There you have biologists, you have engineers, like the mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, softwares, who have to get trained and who will be getting recruited. You have welders and fitters to fit up these things. They also will be getting trained. So lots of IT students, ITI students, they'll be getting placed. Then you have research in vaccine and diagnostics, which is also increasing, which need to be pumped, lots of fund has to go there. So obviously biologists, chemists and engineers, all of them, they'll be getting recruited. Parallelly, you have this everywhere, we have welders and fitters for equipment. Then recruitments into hospitals, this is also required. Many doctors and nurses need to be recruited, and the other paramedical staff also, they have to be recruited. Then we have academics, because doctors and engineers, all of them have to come out. Then you require lots of academics also, like medical, paramedical training, and other institutions also will be coming up. Apart from this, we have other fields associated with all these things. Okay, the small scale vendors and all these people, small industries, they'll also flourish.
COVID-19 has set new benchmarks for the entire mankind. A small virus whose structure and mode of replication is studied, yet the ways to stop it is still under investigation. During the past 1 month, the major focus of every individual and government was to understand the lacuna and fill it to face the challenges. Our governments have realized the need to pump funds into vaccines and not just software development. Indigenous goods production and manufacture has increased. We are fit to face any challenge has become our slogan. Increased need to work on medical related fields has been understood. A 1:1,000 ratio for doctors to patients set by World Health Organization may not be enough during such conditions. It is not just a medical field, but everyone has been working their own way to face post-COVID challenges. Mainly, the healthcare related area needs to be addressed. It is a challenge as nothing can change overnight, but determination to fund these areas would improve our country's economics. It will not just support that field, but the dependent fields will also flourish, leading to increased employment. Here are all the references we have used for the paper. We thank the management of St. Joseph's College Woven for their support. Thank you.